stepping out of home. And from April 24th, being a government servant, we have been in office continuously. So ensuring that we take all kinds of precautions, because this is going to stay.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And that's where it is. So, Shruti, we can start.
Yep.
Malika, can we start the streaming video, please?
Yeah, Shruti.
And the recording.
Yeah, recording is already done. So we're starting in the streaming session.
Okay.
We are live, sir. Shruti, we can start.
Right. Okay. A very good afternoon and a warm welcome to all of you, our esteemed panel today. All the students, faculty, everybody who's present in today's webinar, a very warm welcome to all of you. Telangana Academy for Skill and Knowledge, TASK as we better know it as, is an initiative by the government of Telangana to enhance skilling among youth. Our fundamental objective is to make students more employable in order to reduce unemployment and underemployment in our state. In order to do this, we offer a wide range of skilling programs, technical and non-technical, to ensure that students are industry ready. In doing so, we try to bridge the gap between the industry and academia. We kind of act as a platform that brings the government, the academia, and the students onto one platform. For the corporate, we ensure that they get skilled first day, first hour productivity manpower. As part of our initiatives in the pandemic situations, one of the things that we thought was to talk about different industries as career options, especially because there's so much speculation, so much confusion as to how careers are going to change post-COVID. We started our Career Talk series in May. This is the 18th week, the 18th webinar, and a very, very privileged webinar today because we have representatives from all the three arms of the Indian Defence Forces, and Praveen Garu, who is the Director of Aerospace and Defence Government of Telangana. This suggestion to have a webinar on career series was from our students, from our field team who went out to the colleges and students, and they said that this is what the students are also interested to know. So we thought, why not do one to bring awareness among the career opportunities in the armed forces and defense sector. I hope that all the students, all the participants today go back home with a lot more awareness and a lot more knowledge about how they can make a career in the armed forces, and a very rewarding career in that sense. Shrikant sir, over to you.
Thank you, Shruti. Thank you very much. A very warm welcome and good afternoon to all the principals, faculty members, training and placement officers, and dear students. I would also like to welcome my panel for today. As my colleague has already said, we have been covering this thing, and during COVID, the news that anyone picks up in the newspapers or on TV is more towards people being laid off. While at the same time, we said, let's look at how career opportunities are opening up and expose our students to all different kinds of career opportunities. We have had 17 other webinars earlier on, and today is the 18th webinar, which is practically the end of this Career Talk series, because next month is going to be a different kind of webinars that we would do. But the topic at hand is career opportunities in the armed forces and defense sector. We have a huge armed force in India, and we are extremely proud of it and the personnel who serve in it. But having said that, if I look at Telangana itself, the Indian Army has got about 1.2% representation from Telangana. If I look at the Navy, it is less than 1%. If I look at Air Force, it is 0.80% as far as Telangana is concerned. And that's where we said, let's try to expose our students to the career opportunities, the lives of the forces, and then take it forward. And I'm extremely pleased today that we have some of the best people who have served and made our country proud to be part of this panel today. And I would and it's my privilege and pleasure to introduce the panel to you. We have Major General retired M.S. Krishnan from the Indian Army. He has served the Indian Army for nearly 35 years before retiring as a Major General. Currently, he is a visiting faculty for Logistics and Supply Chain Management for Vishweshwari Institute of Systems and Management, and a mentor at ISCEA India NSC Next, which is the International Supply Chain Education Alliance. In the past, he has engaged as a guest faculty at Institute of Supply and Materials Management and is a visiting faculty for Symbiosis Institute of Management Studies and ITM Business School, Hyderabad. He is an alumnus of the Officers Training Academy, Chennai. He has received the Vishish Seva Medal twice in 2000 and 2013 from the Honorable President of India. And he commanded the logistics and supply chain during the Kargil War in Kashmir in 1999. So welcome, Major General Krishnan. It's indeed a pleasure to have you with us again today. You had also been a speaker for the logistics webinar also. Next, it's my proud privilege to introduce you to Commodore Harsh Bhargava, retired from the Indian Navy. He has an experience of 31 plus years. He has been awarded the design, develop, and productionization of secure data link systems for Indian Navy. Currently, he is volunteering as a wellness coach for the polyclinic at the Armed Forces Veterans Hospital. He's an adjunct professor at the Vishweshwari Business School. He has authored 8 books, better known as Ghumakkad, through his picture-based blog, which is www.ghumakkad.blogspot.com, which has got a global readership. I'm sure I'm also going to go and have a look at it today. And some of you who are interested in picture-based can look at his thing. He has pursued his SIDMC from the International Resource Management from Naval PG School, California. He's a Master of Management Studies from Osmania University, MTech Electrical Engineering from IIT Kanpur, and BE Honors Electrical Engineering from BITS Pilani. Welcome, Commodore. Next, I have the pleasure of introducing Group Captain retired P.A. Naidu from the Indian Air Force. He retired as Director Personnel from Indian Air Force. He has over 14 years of experience. Honored with the IAF Level Award for Distinguished Contribution to Aviation Safety and Leadership. Presently associated with Nalsar University of Law, teaching aviation laws as an adjunct professor, contributing as a volunteer in conducting mock interviews for civil servant aspirants, as well as when they have been called for the personality test. He holds a PG Diploma in Aviation Law and Air Transport Management from Nalsar University of Law, Hyderabad. Welcome, sir. Last, we have Mr. P.A. Praveen, who is the Director of Aerospace and Defense, Government of Telangana, who is not an outsider to this forum because he has been here for the aerospace webinar. Then since he handles banking and finance also, he came for that. And now, of course, defense also. He holds additional charge, as I said, for BFSI sector. He has received the Best State Award for Telangana under category of Most Progressive Outlook towards Aerospace Sector in 2018-20 from Ministry of Civil Aviation, Government of India. He has served as the business and strategy lead with firms like multinationals like HSBC, ILFS, EFL, InTrade, NCDA, and NCMSL. An alumnus of IIM Ahmedabad and a Sheving Gurukul fellow from Department of Politics and International Relations, Oxford University. So as you can see, we have a full and a very, very interesting panel lined up for today. And in interest of time, I would go straight into the panel itself and probably start by asking all these distinguished gentlemen who had donned the uniform once proudly, with us, I'm sure there would have been a lot of incidents, and that would have, left a mark on your personality, on your career, on your life itself. If you could share some interesting episodes, and probably Major Krishnan, I'll start with you. If you could narrate an incident from your life, something which helps our students understand what are the adventures that lie in the defense forces. Over to you, sir. You'll need to, okay, yes.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. I hope I am audible and visible.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. First of all, thanks for inviting me to this webinar. And at the outset, you said you are very proud of the armed forces. I personally am very proud of India itself, the people of India, because it is from them that we derive inspiration. I was a civilian, and therefore, I think every citizen is doing his or her job, and I think that's what it's all about. Now, as far as exciting moments are concerned, well, 35 years, I've had many of them. And but I would just like to share an incident with you. It's about this unity and diversity, and how, as how armed forces people, they take this profession. In the army, once a month, we always have a religious function, either in the mandir, gurdwara, church, or the masjid. Now, this was in the mandir. The Panditji was on chutti, so it was the Gyaniji, that is from the gurdwara. He was overseeing the function. And just to put things in the right perspective, during our religious functions, religion is never talked about. It's only about soldiering, the chivalry, and so on and so forth. So it was the Gyaniji from the Gurdwara who was overseeing the function. And my deputy commandant, I was commanding the unit. My deputy commandant, his name was Misar Gundagi, Muhammad Ibrahim Shakil Abdur Rahman Gundagi. And it was the period of Ramzan, and he was observing Roza. So I had told him in the evening that you please break your fast and you need not come for this Mandir program. He said, right, sir. But when I reached the Mandir, he was there to receive me. So I asked him, what is it? He says, sir, this is my duty. I'll break my Roza here. Now, what I want to convey is, for the Indian Armed Forces, this is something, which I think comes very natural. Then I just wanted to convey to the youth that is what Armed Forces of India are all about. Other exciting moments, well, during the Kargil War, I was commanding a logistics unit. I got the opportunity to go to the front line, although I'm not from the fighting arms. I was given a helicopter on my own with two pilots. And, well, there are many others, sir, but I think others, Commodore Bhargav and the other panelists should also share their, experiences.
Sure. Thank you very much. But I think you have given us the appetizer, but you have not served us the meal. So probably if you could talk about your experience during Kargil and the logistics part of it will be interesting and beneficial for our youth.
Okay, so when I was posted to Srinagar to command the logistics unit sometime in August 1998. And as you know, about 6 to 7 months later, the problem erupted. And every logistics unit is designed and stocked to cater to the requirements of a certain number of troops, the type of equipment, and the geographical spread, and so on and so forth. But when war breaks out, you really don't begin to quote rules. And one thing which I was taught very early in life is, you as an army logistician, you do not have the liberty or the luxury to say no, because the soldier is not really going to wait for these rules, number one. And I would like to tell the youth of today that this pandemic, yes, it's an unprecedented situation, but the armed forces, we are always in a situation where anything can happen anytime. There is no luxury of work from home. You see, so we have to be present. We have to deliver the goods. The soldier has to stand at the borders. The sailor has to sail, and the pilots have to fly. And so we, the what do you call, the pressure was really building up. And for almost about 10 days, although I was staying in Srinagar cantonment, for 10 days I could not go home. Everything was within the office. So were my officers, so were my junior commissioned officers, and the rest of them. And my wife and the other ladies would bring sandwiches and other things, goodies, sometimes 1 in the morning, sometimes 8. And what I found was every man, he may have been a sepoy or an NCO, that is a Havildar, not one of them ever felt or ever conveyed that things were difficult with them. And we had a large number of civilians who were employed there. They are permanent employees of, and they are local civilians from all the 3 denominations. Now, it was very difficult for them to come and go, attend the depot. But I would like to tell you that a large number of them opted to stay within the units with whatever facilities we gave them to sleep, and the food. Of course, food is never short in the army. We always make sure. But the kind of dedication to the work, to duty, whether you're serving in J&K, whether you're serving in Arunachal, whether you're serving in UP or any other place, I found it was something that really inspires me.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that anecdote with us. In fact, as luck would have it, I was very much in Jammu during that time, in Srinagar at that time. And Srinagar airport was closed down in May 1999 during Kargil. I was stuck over there. So, of course, I have also traveling by car from Srinagar to Jammu. On the way, I've seen all the Bofors guns and everything, moving towards the border and everything else. So definitely, hats off to forces for keeping us and our independence alive. Now, moving on to you, Commodore Harsh Bhargava, probably if you could also share experiences and especially when you talk about, you got awarded for the data link systems, etc. Probably if you could help us understand, what you did and how was your life investing in the Navy.
Thank you, Mr. Shrikant. I hope I can be heard clearly, right?
Yes.
So,
but only thing is your image seems to be frozen. I don't know why is that.
Is that so?
Yes.
Is it okay?
Yeah, you can continue, sir.
Yeah, okay, great. So, for a warship at sea, we keep training round the year. And one of the most exciting training part or exercises, as we call it, is when we fire the missiles. And we have both. We have surface to surface missile. That means you launch from a ship or a boat, missile boat, and flies over the horizon above certain height, and then destroys the target, which is beyond the horizon. You can't see from your ship. And we have surface to air missiles, which if there is a air attack, then these missiles can engage. So now when you want to give a target practice to a surface to air missile, how to provide a real life target, which should be as fast moving as an aircraft. So what we do, we fire a surface to surface missile over the surface of the sea, and you position these ships are having surface-to-air missiles, and then they have to engage this target live. They don't know when it will be fired and launched, and they have to then acquire the target, lock on, and then fire and try to destroy. Now, as I said, all this, if you see it during the daytime, you can't even spot a missile 2 seconds after it is fired because it's just a blob in the atmosphere. So all this is done at night. So what we call practice missile firing happens at night. And the Prime Minister of India every year spends a few days at sea, and it's called Prime Minister's Day at Sea, or Prime Minister with the Navy. So this was one of those events, top of the line for all the ships and the entire crew of all the ships. So we were all in the exercise area. These areas are marked on international maritime charts for sake of safety of any transiting ships or fishermen. Fishermen, of course, don't come out into the sea. And we have ships which clear the boundary of that firing area. So we were on position, still 28 hours actually to go. And in our ship, and we were the first surface-to-air missile launching ship, SAM launching ship, as scheduled. And we heard the hooter, which was the fire detection and fire alarm hooter on the ship. Now let me tell you, the naval fraternity is not afraid of anything other than fire at sea. I have experienced a number of them. So when you hear this hooter, then everybody has different role to play, and we close up at our positions and see, and of course the panel shows where did it occur. We all reached there was no fire, hooter went on, and later we found, of course, it was a malfunction caused by an operator who was new to the entire thing. But the damage is done because ships are equipped with automatic sprinkling systems. And on the ship, you fight the fire with water, which is seawater. And that's highly marine, highly salt content. And if that gets sprayed onto the distribution panels, boxes, switches, then you can imagine how unsafe the entire thing becomes. So immediately you switch off, isolate circuits and so on. And now the challenge was, what happens 28 hours later? Will we be ready? Will we get a chance, or we'll have to forego our chance? And that's why I'm illustrating this. And as General Krishnan said, that we are prepared for the unseen, okay? And immediately all the teams got going. And what was most exciting was people who look after the hygiene, in the ship, the toilets and the washrooms and so on. Even they were on their toes and asking every minute, "Sir, are we ready? Are we ready? Shall we bring tea or shall we do this?" Like General Krishnan said, the ladies pitched in, of course, on the ship. There are no ladies. So to cut it short, we got ready much before time, tested all circuits, double tested, and of course, being the first ship, we brought down the surface-to-surface missile successfully. So what does it tell us? Tremendous teamwork, dealing with uncertainty, never lose your calm. I was directly responsible for the weapon systems on the ship. And you could imagine that, stress and tension. But we said, past is past, let's get on with the task. And number of such incidents, but I thought since Mr. Sinha said that please share some interesting episodes which are forever etched in our memory, I thought I'll share that with, and just to add, the Prime Minister was actually on our ship for that night. So we went through all this and managed to, bring down the target successfully.
Oh.
So, so for young students, that's what life is, and we'll talk about it when later. What does Navy call from you, and what do you get from Navy if you join Navy? Thank you very much.
Wonderful. That was a real enlightening experience. And doing the attention, and no wonder the word VUCA, world, has come from the defense forces itself. Volatile, highly ambiguous, uncertain, and complex, and that's exactly how the lives of all of you have been. But yes, of course, maintaining the peace and maintaining the right kind of attitudes in those times is probably, under heavy tensions and pressure, is what makes our Indian soldier. Hats off, sir. Moving on to you, Group Captain Naidu. In case you could also share with us some example of yours, which has left an impact on your life.
Namaskar once again, and this is something to do with the aid to civil power, which we were taught as part of our Air Force Academy training. And I used to wonder why it's being taught so seriously. And in the initial years of my career, I was in the first posting at Ludhiana. Am I audible clearly?
Yes.
Ludhiana, and we were actually in a party to give farewell to one of the officers in the officers' mess in the evening, in the officers' mess dress that is white. And just before winding up, we were four of us were called aside by the commander and then told that there has been an attack on vertical tanks, ATF tanks of the Indian Oil, which are rail head side, that is next to the railway station at Mullapur. That was a little distance away. And then we were told that, okay, you have to rush, and no other information was available. That time Punjab peak problem was there with the militants. The militants had fired rockets on vertical tanks, which were actually having ATF for the use by Air Force. And the vertical tanks were right adjacent to the railway track, railway station Mullapur, and the village was all around that railway station. And four of us, of course, the senior most officer, that night I saw him. We were told that we may have to do anything that has been ordered to do, and I saw him drive the crash fire tender, huge vehicle that is used for fighting the aircraft fires. He drove, and one of the officers out of the four was told to call 3-4 more people and bring the other crash fire tenders. We reached there in the midnight, and from there on, we were there for 7 days. We did not reach the Air Force station for 7 days. The fire was being fought, and of course, within those 7 days, we had crash fire tenders coming from all over northern India. Then we had the experts coming from ONGC. We had experts coming from where all, abroad also they came. All that we did was to contain the fire so that the villagers need not be evacuated. What I have seen during those 7 days was that our training, how it comes very handy, whatever training is given as officer trainees, whether it is theoretical or practical training. Practical training, when I say yes, the physical training also, because 7 days, we never had time for sleep. We were lying down on the crash tender itself. And fortunately for Punjab, yes, the local population is great. They looked after us like anything, food and other things. They would call us and say, no, come to our house, refresh for 1 hour, 2 hours, take rest. That is the kind of support the villagers. What I'm saying is the aid to civil power, very essential role that the armed forces play in providing aid to civil power very, very often. And that was the first major incident that I have seen. Subsequently in Air Force, I have seen a number of cases where we were called upon to rescue people stuck there, or provide aid to people who were in, like Gaisal rail accident. I know the whole of Air Force Station, Bagdogra was involved in helping pulling out those people who were injured, conveying them, carrying them to various hospitals. Lot of activity there. We were all involved. Likewise, there were many incidents where I saw, yes, the training helps. the training definitely helps. Similarly, during the Kargil, the Air Force, one part of the Air Force was Ops Safed Sagar, that was. And I was at a base where the Mirages were testing new fuses that were to be used on high altitude. They were not tested beforehand. So night time they used to go for test firing at a range close to the base where I was, and then go to northern sector. That was the routine. So like I was told that I would be on night duty every day till the operations are over. And believe you me, I couldn't blink my eye because that was the requirement. So the physical training, the skill, the knowledge they are required of an officer or an airman in Air Force or any of the uniformed person are very, very demanding. Like both my senior panelists have mentioned, the demands of the time, reacting to the orders at very short notice, being prepared to take action whenever you are called to. These are the things that come as part of the training you ingrain in yourself, and they come very handy as you move along. I have seen this when I was heading the Air Force operations for Bhutan operations that they have taken place. I was heading there. I was in Bhutan, and I was in their headquarters. And trust me, about 15 people, they never wanted to go back to their rooms. They wanted to be there in the ops room always. That's the kind of motivation that comes because you are trained so very well. You are prepared mentally to take action at short notice as well. These are some of the the many, of course, because of quick reaction, spontaneous action. These are the things as an air traffic controller also we were required to display. I've been fortunate probably to be of help to the pilots whenever there was a requirement, and that's how I earned 3 chiefs commendations for my contribution to safety. Out of that, 2 were to alert pilots when aircraft caught fire, the fighter aircraft caught fire, and I had alerted in time so that the aircraft could come and land back, the pilots were safe. So these are the things that you are taught in the training for all the officers, whether it is Army, Navy, or the Air Force. These are spontaneous reactions. You are not required to think. It just happens because of your training. It's ingrained in you. That's what I have. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. I think I'm sure I'm quite enthralled with all these incidents that all of you gentlemen have shared, and I'm sure that our students also would have not only enjoyed these experiences but also understand how our defense forces not only help serve us and preserve our independence during the wartime or combat times, but also during the peacetime also. And thank you very much, gentlemen. Really honored to have on the panel and to hear these experiences from all of you. Now, probably shifting tracks, let me get in Praveen also. And Praveen represents Government of Telangana, and that's where Praveen, the question for you is that Hyderabad and especially Telangana is gaining repute as a favorite destination for defense companies looking to set up their research and manufacturing units, and we have discussed about all this earlier also. What are the industries that are coming in our state? What are the opportunities does this particular development open up for our youth? Is the first part of the question, and second is, what are the latest emerging technologies that is the defense manufacturing sector looking at and is focusing on? So over to you, Praveen.
Thank you very much, sir. Let me also unsolicited share my experience with the armed forces to begin with. And in fact, it's an esteemed honor to kind of be, it's a great honor to be with the esteemed panel which we have here today. So in 2015, I was not in the government service. I was in the private sector then. I was having a family vacation. We were planning going to the airport, and on the outer ring road, we met up with an accident. It was a very freak accident. The vehicle which was passing in the next lane had a tire burst, and it came across to us, and we had a hit. But thankfully, there was a truckload of Jawans just behind us. It was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And in no time, they came forward, pulled us out, had a tarpaulin kind of really laid out, arranged for a shade for us, poured water on top of us, stopped a vehicle, and in no time we were in a nearby medical college, Shahjahan Medical College, where we had got first aid in time. And the doctors, later on we got shifted to Continental, but the doctor said that the time in which you were brought to the hospital saved all of your life. And I couldn't ever got an opportunity to kind of identify who kind of helped us, who thanked, who intervened and got us to the hospital. So I'm always grateful in terms when it is not called for also, they're always ready for emergencies like that. And as a civilian, I can kind of really acknowledge, and I'm very clear that in any sort of armed situations, any kind of military situation, I think that selflessness which is evident in this incident will be probably 10 times more. So just to come back to the question, Mr. Srikanth, actually, Hyderabad has always been a defense hub. It may be due to various reasons. It may be due to the late annexation of Hyderabad to the Indian Union. It also can be due to, because it is centrally located away from all the external aggression and situated on a seismically stable state. A lot of military establishments were there post-independence. In fact, over a dozen DRDO labs, critical DRDO labs, and DPSUs, including the entire missile hub of India, is based out of Hyderabad. We have from the military side, the cantonment side in Secunderabad, the artillery training center in Golconda side, as well as the military engineering college, which is there again, that side of the city. The Hyderabad ecosystem has always been geared, had this military presence and readiness ingrained in us. The DRDO labs as well as the DPSUs have nurtured a large number of private sector companies. Today we have got around more than 1,000 SMEs and large companies. Many of the SMEs have grown to larger scale. Companies like VEM Technologies, like Anand Technologies, Zen, Zeratech, all of them are main prime suppliers to the defense forces these days. So this, along with the large-scale companies like Tata's have got 90% of their operations here, and most of their activities here are defense-oriented. Though we say it's aerospace, but then what they manufacture are the Apaches and the Chinooks, which are used in the defense forces. And most of the Kalyanis have set up their RF and their Spike and Spice missile manufacturing facilities here in Hyderabad. Similarly, we have got Adanis who have kind of set up their UAV, which is again used for the defense. The Heron is kind of manufactured here. So as such, the ecosystem has been able to attract large number of industries, large number of global OEMs who have been, come in. Lockheed Martin manufactures, have multiple manufacturing lines. In fact, the F-16 wings are kind of getting manufactured here. GE Aero engines. Similarly, Boeing, as I mentioned, the couple of critical platforms, the Apaches, the Chinooks, and now they're actually planning more. Safran recently has kind of set up an aero engine facility initially. Wire harness facility. Now they come up with a 360 million euro aero engine facility, which is coming up now. This is the third facility which they're talking to us about. So these are with respect to manufacturing, but it's also a hub for IT design side of things. So we have companies like Collin Aerospace, like Saab, Honeywell, etc., having their engineering engineering establishment around High-Tech City. Then we have the Israeli companies like Rafael, who have got multiple JV partnerships here. Elbit, etc., is kind of already having their manufacturing and other activities doing in Hyderabad. We have a fair traction in terms of the innovation bit. So IDEX is partnered with T-Hub, and T-Hub on its own, T-Hub is the incubation hub, as you almost been knowing. And we have, through T-Hub, done incubation acceleration program for Boeing, for Collins Aerospace, for Pratt & Whitney, and recently Airbus has signed up with us to have their startups to kind of have pilot programs here. We are also quite aggressive in terms of promoting drone technology, and there's discussion going on in terms of having a drone certifying center, a testing center also to be set up here. So all these developments have created a requirement of large number of mechanical, electromechanical, and aerospace engineers who might probably be required in the system. That's on the engineering stream. But a whole lot of manufacturing establishments are looking for ITI trained and specialized trained candidates to join their future requirements. And to aid that, the government has also had tie-ups with foreign universities like Cranfield University, UK, Embry-Riddle and Northfield University, US, and a French-based MRO training center, Aerocampus Aquitaine, to kind of create their annex centers here as well as provide their short-term courses. So these are all trainings programs available on demand for industries for training. In addition, TASK has been supporting the sector through various industry-linked training. In fact, TASK has kind of had multiple rounds of training which has been given to companies like Safran. And that's again another key attraction for this ecosystem to attract more of these jobs coming in here. So I'm not sharing. In fact, I'm sure the distinguished panel will discuss further in terms of the entry into the various defense forces. I'd also like to add that the DRDO establishments here also hire significantly. In fact, they do have campus placements in the top league engineering streams like IITs and NITs. But in addition, they have probably in the month of August, September, they usually come up with their notifications of hiring, and that sort of opportunities are also there. So I will end my speech right now in this respect, and to talk about the new technologies. The second question is we are well known in the field of couple of aspects here. Rather than the normal way of manufacturing, I think things are moving in far advance in terms of the use of the material science. Particularly, we are kind of becoming a materials hub recently because Midani is here, and Midani is also engaged with a lot of industries to kind of get self-sufficiency in material. Most of the aerospace and defense-related materials are imported today, so that there's a lot of work getting done there. The use of new age technologies like AI, ML, as well as blockchain. The cyber warfare is again another area which we are kind of really concerned about, and a lot of activity will be happening there. So skill sets based developed in that area will also be valued by the industry. And yeah, I think I'll kind of stop here and probably take up further questions down the line. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Praveen, for sharing with us. And of course, as you rightly said, TASK has been working with multiple organizations, including TASL, and we are in discussions with them, and as well as Safran. In fact, earlier in the day, I had a meeting with the Safran HR head on some more requirements that they have. We have already run the Routes to Wings, which is a program for skilling polytechnic students from the districts to work in the aerospace industry. Met with great success, and we got the Scotch Order of Merit for that program last year. So definitely a lot of work, and we will be definitely increasing that in that area. So now let me move on to Major General Krishnan again. And sir, we spoke about the decimal numbers that are there in from so 35 years plus in the army and won the prestigious Vishesh Seva medal, etc. Please tell us why our youth should look at joining the Indian Army as a lucrative career option, and what are the career opportunities for graduates? Okay.
So would you like me to give a presentation, or I can talk about the
presentation? Might be slightly cumbersome. It'll be good in case you can just walk us through that.
Okay, fine. So why I chose the army as a career? Firstly, my dad was in the army, and he was commissioned during the British Raj era in 1943. And I had seen the army ethos, the way, the lives of army people are, the families. And I did my graduation from then Bihar, now Jharkhand. And I did have opportunities outside. But then the calling was there, and I joined the army. And not because it was easy for me as an army officer's son. I would like to convey to all the young people here that the armed forces, they do not have any bias favoring the children of armed forces personnel when it comes to selection. You have to prove yourself to be an army guy, a sailor, or a Air Force pilot. So that's number one. Number two, the army. When I did my graduation, rather when I was doing my graduation, India, India went through a very, very, very momentous, you can say memorable battle with Pakistan. That is the 1971 Indo-Pakistan War. And I used to read the news, listen to the news. There was no TV at that time. And we used to get photographs in the newspapers. And then came the news that the Pakistani had surrendered in Dhaka, and 93,000 prisoners of war, Pakistan prisoners of war, were captured. Rather, they surrendered and they came to India. They were kept in India till, of course, the Simla Accord. And we got General Manekshaw, who was then the Chief of Army Staff. He was promoted to Field Marshal, the first Field Marshal of our army. And I had General Jagjit Singh Arora, who was the Eastern Army Commander during the Bangladesh War. He was felicitated by the civil administration in Ranchi, and I had gone to hear his address to the public there. I mean, these were all very inspiring. And well, I went through the process of getting into the army. That is, I had to apply for the, reply to the advertisement by the Union Public Service Commission. That's what happens even now. So there are two ways of getting into the army. One is a permanent commission, and the other is a short service commission. I did qualify for the permanent commission, and I was to join the Indian Military Academy. But unfortunately, 15 days before that, my father expired. So I joined the Officers Training Academy as for a short service commission, and thereafter I got my permanent commission. So you have to apply to the Union Public Service Commission. The written test is pretty, I would say it covers, the horizon is very wide. It covers a large number of topics. You have to be well informed. You have to study. You have to know your country. You have to know the history. You have to know the geography, and you have to have a general awareness of what's happening in the world. I cleared the written test. Thereafter, I went for what is known as the Services Selection Board, which is conducted for entry into the Army, Navy, or Air Force. Now, the Services Selection Board is a 3-day affair, and they test you, that is 360-degree examination, or I would say 360-degree evaluation of a candidate for perception, intelligence, your emotional quotient, intelligence quotient, your ability to take decisions, your ability to work in a team. Like Commodore Bhargav had said, if you cannot work as a team, you cannot become a leader. So one has to learn how to work as a follower and a teammate before you become a leader. And I would like to tell the youth here that the Army, Navy, Air Force, right from day one, trains you to become a leader. Whether you are the lowest or the highest, let us say there are 100 people in a unit, and let us say 98 of them have died or injured. Out of the remaining 2, whoever is senior will take charge. That is how the military leadership works. So they test your ability, they test your ability to communicate. Now, communication skills, I would advise the youth here. I love my mother tongue Tamil, I love Telugu, I love my national language, I love all the Indian languages. But unfortunately, the language of business is English in international, and in the armed forces, you must be, as an officer, you must be able to communicate well in English, in Hindi. And of course, if you can, communicate in any other language, it is definitely a plus point. But it is not a constraint. Those who cannot communicate very fluently, it is not that they will be rejected. But you must be able to at least communicate the basics, communication skills, then your planning skills. So we have what is known as intelligence screening. Thereafter, the group testing officer takes you for 2 days. Then there is an individual personal interview by either the president or the deputy president of the board. And on the last day, the entire board sits and you are just given an audience of about a minute or two. And thereafter, then and there, you are told whether you've been selected or rejected. And those who are selected remain in that place for undergoing the medical tests. And the medical tests are quite rigid in terms of height, weight, your heart, everything. Your ECG, your X-ray, everything is taken from the orthopedic angle. And so those standards are pretty rigid because you have to be fit. Otherwise, you cannot really perform in the Army, Navy, or the Air Force. And after the medical, if you have been found medically fit, thereafter you wait for a merit list. For example, in the Officers Training Academy per year, 175 vacancies are there, so 350. So for each course, 175, there might be something like 75 or 80,000 people, and finally it boils down to 175. So the merit list is drawn, and thereafter you're sent, given the joining instructions. In the Indian Military Academy, which is for permanent commission, there are 200 vacancies per course, 400 per year. And the Indian Military Academy, which started in 1938, is one of the finest military training academies in the world. So also the Officers Training Academy in Chennai, and of course Naval and Air Force Academies are again the best in the world. Now in the academy, you are put through a training regimen that Group Captain Naidu said, it trains you to be a leader and to work under pressure and to understand what the defense profession is all about. And another thing that I would like to say, and after your training, you're commissioned and straight away you're posted. So literally, I did my graduation in 1974, 75. I gave the exam, 76. I joined the Officers Training Academy, and 1977, I was commissioned as an officer and started getting my pay. So it's a job immediately after your graduation, but then yes, you have to work for it. You have to sweat it out, because the saying says the more you sweat during peacetime, the less you bleed during war. So that's one thing. And what is amazing is a person maybe from West Bengal, Telangana, Madras, Chennai, or Rajasthan, or UP, or Punjab. When you go to the academy, you really forget all these things, and you yourself refer to them as course mates. That's all, or your regiment mate, and so on and so forth. Now there are many. The army is organized into many arms, fighting arms, like the infantry. They are the dominant ones who really go to the front and fight. We have the artillery, that is the people who fire the guns. Then we have the armored corps, people who go in the tanks. We have the mechanized infantry who go in tank-like vehicles. They're called infantry combat vehicles. Then we have the combat support arms, like the engineers. They are the combat engineers who lay mines, who clear the minefields, who lay bridges. I would like to tell the youth that bridges are laid during war. And we have the signals corps who give communication in the battlefield as well as during peacetime. We have the Army Aviation Corps, that is the helicopters. Then we have the Army Air Defense Corps that takes care of the enemy aircraft. Then we have the logistics services, to which I belong, the Army Ordnance Corps. We have the center here in Secunderabad. We take care of the logistics requirements amounting to almost 500,000 items, right from a pin to a tank, spare parts for vehicles, clothing, tents, ammunition management. And I would like to say, as a science graduate, I specialized in the Army with armament and ammunition technology. And like Mr. Shrikant Sinha had mentioned about the Bofors gun, I was fortunate to be sent to Sweden for training when the Bofors guns were imported in 1986.
Wow.
There are a lot of opportunities for officers to go abroad on courses as well as on deputation as military attaches with UN peacekeeping missions and a host of other assignments. Then I specialized in that. And as I said, when I was commanding, and I've served in a large number of ammunition depots. And when I'm talking of ammunition depot, the ammunition depot that I commanded near Ambala was spread over 1,800 acres of land. It's almost like a jungle. And we say, even we are the only thing we do not want is a fire. 1,800 acres, you have to know every inch of it. You have to know where what is kept. It's a big challenge, but it's again, a very enjoyable. I've served in places, I wouldn't say very remote, but at the same time, I have visited every state in India while serving in the Indian Army. That's one opportunity I will say I was blessed. I met every kind of people, the religions, the cultures. You celebrate all festivals together. Everyone joins during Holi, during Eid, during Christmas, and it's been wonderful. And I served in those areas where the newspaper used to take about 2 days to come. But we were very happy because the army teaches you to be happy wherever you are. And that's what it's all about. You can't really try and say, I would like to be in a metro. No malls, no such thing. TV signals may not come. Now, of course, things have improved a lot now. Now, I would also say that in 1992, the Army opened up for women officers. And from this year onwards, they would also be considered for permanent commission. And therefore, but they will not be in the combat arms like the infantry, the armored corps, the artillery, the mechanized infantry. But they are in the combat engineer arms like the engineers, the signals, the air defense, the ordnance, where I served. And so that's it's open even for the women. For technical graduates, the pre-final year engineering students can apply for it. The age is, I think, 20 to 27. For the rest, it is 19 to 24. You have to be unmarried when you apply for the service. Pay structure is very good. You can rise up to the rank of general if you do really well. I was very fortunate to rise up to the rank of Major General. And there are a total of 43,000 officers in the Indian Army. 1.3 million strong is the Indian Army. And some estimates say that we are the largest volunteer army in the world. No compulsion, no conscription, no forcing anybody. We are all volunteers. 1.3 million strong, and we are a force to reckon with. There is no doubt about it. In the geopolitics, the dynamics, whatever you may call it, India, the Indian Armed Forces, and I would say for the Indian Army, we are a force to reckon with. It gives you chance for adventure, mountaineering, river rafting, rock climbing, paraglidings, parasailing, skydiving. In fact, one of our ordnance officers, Captain Ashwini Pawar, she reached the summit of Mount Everest. We have officers, Colonel Malik, who was the principal of the Himalayan mountaineering expedition. We have one Colonel Sandeep Madan, who's the deputy commandant here in the OC Center. He's an ultra marathon runner. His age is 52. He went for almost 186 marathon in South Africa last year. So a lot of adventure, sports, you name the sport and it's there in the Indian Army. You play with troops, you play with officers, social life, good social life, and you have a lot of pride. Now, there are certain myths that the army people, they just enjoy life. We enjoy life, but that is, we enjoy our profession and not at the cost of the profession. Number two, army people drink a lot. Sorry, we have a large number of teetotalers. Commodore Bhargav, who was my instructor, is one example from the Navy. There are people, they don't smoke now. I mean, many people don't, rather, I would say the majority don't smoke. And we have a lot of respect for women. When ladies come, she might be the wife of the junior most Jawan in the unit. But if I, as a Major General, if I'm sitting down and she comes, I stand up. Yes, there is a different code for women officers because they are officers first, ladies later. Yet we do understand the gender sensitivity. But these are some of the, you can say, the civil ethos or civility that we express. We have very good medical facilities, whether you're in peace stations or in the forward areas. Doctors will always come there. Nursing officers will always be there. We have an excellent pension scheme. So after retirement, you're much better off, I would say, thanks to the government and the scheme. And there is a lot of encouragement from the government for the army, and therefore, the getting into the armed forces, service, and post-retirement, all I would say it's something among the best. And I really don't believe in reincarnation, but if I were to be born again, I would like to join the Indian Army. I'm not saying any army, the Indian Army, and that's what it's all about.
Great. Great. Thank you very much. Thanks for helping us understand the various options and the various opportunities, etc., which are there, and of course, what kind of a mindset is also required, for joining the army. So, Commodore Bhargav, I didn't know you were Major General Krishnan's instructor also. So, small world again, as we say, But since you have been with the Navy, if you could help us understand, why should the youth join, and what are the career opportunities there? And since you are coming from an engineering background, especially electronic engineering, being your specialization, if you could help us understand as to, what kind of career opportunities for the engineering students in the Indian Navy, and how do they join the naval force? Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Srikanth. And thanks, General Krishnan, for telling us the common selection procedures which apply to all three services. Any person who wants to become an officer has to undergo the services selection board. And before that, either the written exam or any of the channels that are there. So let's take a few questions about what does Navy offer, right? So Navy, firstly, I would say Navy is not a profession. Navy is not a career. Navy is a way of life.
Wow.
I mean, that's how I feel, and having done half a century. So once you are part of Navy, you are on one ship for a year or two, then you go to another ship for another tenure, and you go to shore establishments, and you rotate. But the bonds that are built on the ship, right, those remain forever. As far as the qualifications are concerned, so we have the same age group, 19 to 24, and if you are a graduate, then 21 to 26. They can join. We have multiple branches. Let me just explain, like the Army. So we have the executive branch. The executive branch officer will ultimately be responsible for commanding the ship or the unit. Or executive branch officer will become the CNC of a command or will become the chief of the naval staff.
Right.
Within the executive branch, then we have specializations. You could become a submariner, where apart from the psychological makeup, you also have to undergo the medical test, whether your body can withstand those pressures. Then we have the aviation branch, like the Air Force. So Navy has the aviation branch. We fly both the fixed wing and the rotary wing aircraft, which can take off not only from bigger ships like the aircraft carrier, but also the destroyers and frigates, where you have a small deck and you do landing at sea and operations at sea. Then in the executive branch, we have the Armament Inspectorate branch, who are responsible for ensuring that the supply of armament is to the standards. We have the law branch. We have the logistics branch, which looks after the entire logistics, pay and accounts. We have the observer, which is like the navigators in the Air Force and the controllers in the Air Force together. Those functions are carried out. Now, as far as women are concerned, in the executive branch, women can join in the observer cadre and the NAI cadre, but as yet not in the, and of course the aviation cadre. They can be helicopter pilots, they can be pilots of the long range maritime reconnaissance aircraft, and they have been there for a number of years now. So that's the executive branch. Then what about the technical graduates? Because you asked me in the audience, there are quite a few engineering students. So engineering students can join both. They can join for permanent commission through their respective institutions, where teams from Navy go to these institutions to do preliminary selection, merit list, and then ultimately the services selection board. Or before doing their engineering, if there are now engineering students, but they are younger brothers, they can write the NDA or the Naval Academy exam, which is a common exam, and can join the academy at Ezimala in Kerala, where a 4-year program is run, where they get the engineering degree. So that is common for all the branches joining through the academy. So engineering graduates, they have joined through this. Then in addition, Navy, depending on the vacancies, also advertises for short service commission in the technical branches. So we have 2 technical branches, all electronics, computers, radars, underwater sonars, weapons. These are looked after by what is called the electrical branch. And that's where I belong, because I joined as an electronics engineer from my college. And then we have the engineering branch, which looks after all the propulsion systems, generation, distribution, gearboxes, all aspects to move and to float, and all aspects to equip the ship with weapons and electronics is electrical, and all aspects to operate those weapons or communications or radars is the executive branch. In addition, we have the education branch, which is important, and all 3 services have, who then help continuous training of our personnel, both officer and personnel below officer ranks. All the 3 armed forces, of course, there are no medical students in our seminar today. That entry is separate, and that is for all 3 services is controlled by the Directorate General of Armed Forces Medical Services. So that's as far as the entry is concerned. As far as life is concerned, General Krishnan has told us everything, except that it is not so comfortable as it looks. He would agree, and Group Captain Naidu would agree, that when we join, sure, that's the best time. You are a bachelor, your accommodation in the mess is kind of guaranteed. Sometimes you are sharing, but it is there. The moment you get married, you get into the list for the accommodation, and you never ever get it, and you get posted. You literally not living on the street, but like he said, Postmates. So the word goes around that Harsh has got married and he's arriving on December so and so. We were posted on a ship in Bombay. And the guy is fixed up. Another Postmate was going on 28 days leave. So his house and key was handed over to us. So like you learn to exist, learn to deal with uncertainty. But I think that's the best part of life. You learn what real life is. And it is no exaggeration that in a career of young officer's career, recently one of my Postmates' son, he has been posted from Visakhapatnam to Wellington, and his wife posted that married 14 years, 17th house, 16th station being changed. I would like to know how many students who are present here have changed their schools even for the 12 years. But that's a reality. For both of our children, neither could they do high school nor enter in the same station. Both of them. One, when the boards were to be written for 10th, we got transferred from Delhi to Vizag. When this child was to write the 12th board, we got transferred. The younger one, similar way. And I think that's a big learning for the entire family. So life is a mix of everything, and that's what life is all about. But once you are in it, then, as I said, it's a way of life and beyond the profession. So I hope I've answered the questions, and once they have more questions, we'll try to take them on. Thank you.
Yeah, surely. Thank you, Commander Bhagavat. That was very interesting and insights. And of course, interesting that you read out, your coursemate son's wife's post. But I think that that's a reality. And that is something that our generation does understand, but the youth need to understand that, yes, you have to take life as it comes. This pandemic itself has been a great teacher of that, we were assuming things to happen. And in fact, everyone used to say Vision 2020, right? Had we known what 2020 would be looking like, then probably our vision would have been very, very different. But so is life. Thank you for bringing out those nuances, etc. Thank you. And dear students, I'm sure you would have a lot of questions for our esteemed panelists. So please type your questions in the chat box. And once we finish our discussions, we will definitely take your questions. So moving on to you, Group Captain Naidu, if you could throw some light on having a career in Air Force and why is it as a good career option as much as an MNC, as well as, you are also coming from a technology background. So what are the jobs available for technology graduates and how can they join the armed forces? The Air Force. Over to you, Group Captain Naidu.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
But we're not able to see your video. We are just able to see your.
No, my video I can see. So maybe General Krishnan, my video visible, sir?
Krishnan, you are muted. General Krishnan, you are muted.
The video is visible, sir.
Visible.
Group Captain Naidu, you're frozen actually. We can hear you. I can hear you, but your brain is frozen.
No, it's perfect. I think some problem in the bandwidth somewhere. Yeah.
Okay, so please carry on, Group Captain Naidu, please.
Okay, if I'm audible, then I will continue because I'm
Yes,
able to see my video and my video is active live also. So
okay, fantastic.
I will. I must thank my senior panelists from the senior services as they are from, and both are senior to me, for bringing out the commonalities, most of the commonalities in the armed forces that we have. But if I have to just say it in one statement, if someone wants to enjoy consistently challenging times on a day-to-day basis, armed forces and Air Force, of course, I have had full of challenges, life full of challenges, starting from my initial joining. I come from a village. Till last year, I could not find the village on GPS. Only last year, my village got spotted on the GPS. Till today, we do not have a bus going to the village, despite that village being in Andhra Pradesh. When I left the village to join the Air Force, there were only about 150 odd families, such a small village. All my education I had studied in Telugu medium. What General Krishnan was saying, there is no discrimination, there is no differentiation, there is no preferential treatment. Absolutely true. You are assessed based on what you demonstrate. Throughout the career, that has been so. I have never felt any kind of disadvantage because I came from a vernacular media, or I came from a background which I did not have anyone in Air Force. My father was a farmer, a marginal farmer, that too. Absolutely no differentiation. There is no difference. I had, when I went to the Air Force Academy, I had my batchmates who were from Doon School, who were from BITS Pilani, who were from any and every best school or college. No difference. Everyone was same. And as luck would have it, I was topping the courses despite being from this disadvantageous position in terms of education. That's one. The other thing is about Air Force. While all three services have commonalities in terms of pay, perks, salaries, most of the times the promotions also are on equal footing. The training courses that we do are all common most of the times. But what subtle differences that I would like to say is, in case of Air Force, the demands are a little more in terms of when it comes to managing people. The challenges are slightly more because you have English-speaking people. The airmen are English-speaking. They come from slightly better background most of the times, so their expectations in life are much more. When you have set of people whose expectations are more, then you have to meet their demands by raising your own standard and bar. That is one issue that we see in Indian Air Force. But there are advantages because they are able to understand your communication that much faster, especially in aviation. When we have your team is up to it, then your job becomes that much easier, that much simpler. You don't have to explain things in many times. That happens in one communication, one word, one signal. The meaning is absolutely correctly understood and followed. Coming to the entry for the people who want to join the Air Force, of course, the NDA is common examination. Common examination. Only difference is if you have to join the Air Force, you have to have mathematics, physics, chemistry, like in case of Navy, whereas in case of Army, you may not have mathematics, physics, chemistry in 12th standard. But for the Air Force, mathematics, physics, chemistry is a must. Of course, that is there. Otherwise, common training for 2.5 years in NDA. The last 6 months only, there is a little bit of difference because Air Force people go to the Air Force training team, and then they go to the Air Force Academy, and then they pass out. That's as pilots. The CDS is again common UPSC examination. There is UPSC examination. Except for the CPSS. Earlier we used to call it pilot aptitude battery test. Now computer pilot selection tests. So that's CPSS. So, but for that, the selection process is almost similar even in the Air Force selection boards. There is a feeling among some people that the Air Force selection boards, it is easier to get selected. No, I do not agree, because I have had trainees in Air Force Academy. It's same. The batteries are same, the tests are same, the standards are same. There is absolutely no difference. I have had, like I was saying, there were some trainees who gave 8 times, 9 times they went for selection and they did not make it to the Air Force, but then they made it to Army, or they did not make it to Army, they made it to the Air Force. So it can happen like that. So let no one has a feeling that is easier, or Navy is easier, or Air Force is easier as far as the selection is concerned. Stringent pattern of selection. There is no leniency, because his decision is going to cost a lot to the nation if any lenience is shown. I have known many officers' children failing when they don't meet the requirements. Many officers' children failing. So, and I'm saying I'm a live example. I come from such a background that in ordinary cases nobody would have even thought of making it that there. In fact, many people question me when I wanted to appear for Air Force test. They said, Air Force and you, how will you get selected? I said, I'll go. Let me go and try. If I don't get selected, I'll come back. That's okay. Only two things can happen: one, I get selected, or I don't get selected. That's all. So that's one. The next thing that happens is the AFCAT for the entry into the Air Force as officers. AFCAT, Air Force Common Admission Test. It is a common test for all branches when someone is wanting to be an officer, other than through the NDA mode or the CDS mode. So generally about 250 to 300 are the vacancies in a 6-month period. Air Force conducts these tests every 6 months. That means twice in a year they conduct, and there's a long advertisement that comes every year, and it's a standard test that happens for 300 marks, objective type. And then for engineering branch, if someone wants to apply, branches rather, then they have to go through a test known as EKT, Engineering Knowledge Test. For the ground duties, it's common AFCAT test only. There is no problem at all. And as far as the branches are concerned, we categorize into 3 groups. One is the flying branches, the other one is the technical branches, the third one is the non-technical or ground duty branches. When we talk about pilots, there are 3 streams again: the fighter stream, the transport stream, the helicopter stream. And some of them go into UAVs and all that. From any stream it can happen. Subsequently, RPVs and UAVs, that can happen. All 3 streams are open for women, even amongst the pilots. All 3 streams, even in fighters, we have women today. I think a couple of days back only we have had news that one young women officer is selected to fly the Rafale. So we have in fighters, transports, and helicopters for a long time. In case of the technical branches, the technical branches are broadly into 2 streams, like Commodore Harsha was saying, that the mechanical, in case of them it's electrical, in our case they call it electronics, aeronautical engineer electronics, and aeronautical engineer mechanical. These are the 2 main streams in the technical branches. All the mechanical engineering streams like automobile, the aeronautical engineering, the mechanical engineering, metallurgical engineering, all these disciplines, students can apply to the AE, aeronautical engineering mechanical. Those disciplines in colleges like IT, the computer science and engineering, CSIT, the instrumentation, then the electronics, communications, telecommunications, electrical engineering. These are the people who can apply for the aeronautical engineering electronics stream. And the EKT is very simple test. That is one of the simpler tests, I would say, not testing too much, because there are mix of disciplines from which people come to appear for aeronautical electronics or aeronautical mechanical. So it's a very not very tough examination, I would say, not very specific, because it can't be specific, it is generic in nature. When it comes to the ground duty branches or the non-technical branches, so I would like to put it as non-technical branches, we have first the administration, to which I belong, and then we have the logistics branch, we have the education branch, we have the accountant branch, we have the meteorological branch. These are the 5 branches in the administration. Medical I will not touch, like Commodore Harsha said, it's a different kind of selection process that takes place for the medical branches, common selection for all 3 services. Engineering branches, engineering discipline students as well as non-engineering discipline students can apply for the non-technical branches. While they are eligible to apply for the pilots branches also, they are eligible to apply for the technical branches also, they are eligible to apply for the non-technical ground duty branches also. That means an engineer can apply for all of them. And today, because the normal disciplines like arts and commerce, their charm has come down, we have most of the students after +2, they get into engineering by default, whether they like it or not. So we have more engineers coming into the pilot stream, and it's a good thing that has happened. It's a good change that has happened, because the technological requirements are changing as far as the the aircraft operations and the associated systems are concerned. So it's a good thing that is happening. It's a good thing that even engineers are joining in the ground duty branches as well. That means not only limiting themselves to the technical branches, because there are some specializations where, like I put in about 25 years of service in air traffic control branch. Air traffic control is a technical subject. Engineers have a slight advantage. Not that non-engineers are not capable of doing it. I studied BA in sociology. If I can, I mean, I was instructor, I was examiner, I was rating examiner, all those things I achieved despite being from sociology background. It doesn't really need, one doesn't really need to be an engineer. But we know that engineers are trained to be logical. Engineers are trained to be a little different in thinking as far as the creating small little solutions are concerned. So that's why engineering students can apply for the non-technical ground duty branches also. That means for engineers, the options are wide open in Air Force. That's exactly what it is. There is one more thing that happens, like we have non-officer cadre. There is one particular tradesman, like the education instructor. We have graduates only going for that. There are many engineers who go. There are many postgraduates. They go into the education instructor. That is non-officer cadre, airman cadre. But from there are a lot of people who get selected into the Air Force as officers subsequently, and they join as officers. I'm not suggesting that any of the people should apply, but should someone not make it to the officer cadre despite applying for so many opportunities, so many options that they have, and a number of the attempts that can be made. After that, if they have still not made and they're keenly wanting to join the Air Force, this is one option through which subsequently they get opportunities to become officer. These are the different ways of coming to the life in general. The opportunities that are there for sports, games, adventure, all these things are almost common to all three services. Facilities are common, but only difference is an airbase is a huge place. When you have a huge place, you have huge populace around. And all those air bases in India were made during the Second World War or immediately after that or slightly before that, some of them. Because they have been made so early, those air bases now have got covered completely with population. So you don't really have far too isolated places. And not that it cannot happen. So what I'm saying is, yes, the families can many times lead normal life. I have spent 25 years in Air Force. I have always stayed with my family. That's one thing that is a little different from Navy, a little different from the Army, because sometimes their family may have to stay separate occasionally. In my case, despite having so-called field postings, I served in Jammu, but yes, it was family was there. I went to various places. I was in Bhutan for 2 years. Again, family was there. So there is a little difference. What Commodore Harsha was saying, very apt point I must put across. Transfers, yes, transfers they are not handicap. They are an advantage many times. My children, they studied 12th class, till 12th class, they moved 8 schools. My son studied in 9 schools. And trust me, both have done extremely well because of this probably. My daughter has cleared civil services. She's a civil servant. And my son has passed out of BITS Pilani and he's serving abroad in an Indian MNC. I mean, I'm very happy to say that it is not a disadvantage. They get quality education in central schools. Air Force schools are again good wherever they study, whether in Air Force schools or like I know in Delhi, the pressure that is mounted on the Air Force administration to give admission to the civilian children in Air Force schools in Delhi is so much that you get calls from President's office, you get calls from the Prime Minister's office. That is the kind of demand that is there for the Air Force schools. Navy schools as well. APS also is same. It's same across. What I'm saying is the armed forces look after and give quite a bit of preference and priority for making sure that the children are taught well, children are given education. Don't look at the negative side. Look at any new and emerging field that is there in India, whether it is fashion, whether it is cinema, whether it is television, whether it is any technology that comes, you will have children of armed forces on top. On top. Priyanka Chopra, Any number of names we can take. Any number of names we can take. They all credit it. Anushka Sharma has gone on record saying that, but for the army background, I wouldn't have been what I am today. So what I'm saying is children get good education, more than education, learning, holistic learning that comes to them is absolutely fantastic. That's one thing. For the officers also who join the Air Force, challenging times, one learns how to manage work. Both my senior colleagues have told, you learn to take the challenges as part of your life. You learn to enjoy the challenges and they become part of life. There are no more challenges. You're waiting for something new. That's a new thing. So you're waiting, actually. You're geared up and you're waiting for the new challenges to take on a day-to-day basis. And thus, lot of officers write books. Lot of officers read. I have seen voracious readers amongst the officers. They contribute to a lot of innovations. I have known many people who have invented a lot of things. And I'm very fortunate, I would say. From the very beginning, I've been writing something known as service paper in armed forces. We are encouraged to write. And from the flying officer days, my service papers have been getting implemented as policies. And I'm very proudly saying that I wrote one service paper where we wanted to create a single window system for the retired people. All the Air Force people at one go, at one click, at one place, one call, you get everything resolved for the retired people. Directorate of Air Veterans. That's my service paper. And I was the one who created that. What I'm saying is these opportunities don't come otherwise in outside world. That's what I feel. Because I have seen in outside world also I've seen. I have been additional director general in Doordarshan and All India Radio. The kind of initiative that I could take in Air Force was not possible in the government departments otherwise. As additional director general, number 2 to the director general, I could not take those initiatives which, as a director, at group captain rank, I could initiate those things and convince the chief and convince the commanders that this we need to do. And they were convinced. Once they were convinced, they would say, go ahead, man. We give you a deadline. Please implement it within the deadline. That's all they want. So what I'm saying is opportunities, unlimited, boundless opportunities. Challenging times, you learn to enjoy. I mean, there are occasions where, like Commodore Harsha was saying, I have traveled. My wife has traveled with me at short notice. Sleeping between the two berths of an AC 2-tier or AC 3-tier in two berths. That's okay. That's all. Today they are all memories. We recollect and rejoice. Oh my God, we have traveled like that also. So wonderful. So these are all things that how you take it is what the training teaches. And there are many things that one can go. I have done my LLB while being in Air Force. I have done my aviation law, and today I'm teaching in Center for Aerospace and Defense Laws in Nalsar University. It is courtesy Air Force. I am what I am because of Air Force, and that is the kind of a raw person will be transformed into a good human being, good citizen, and a officer and a leader, because both of them said leadership is what is taught to us from the day one. These are the things that Air Force has advantages for technical people, for engineers, opportunities boundless, unlimited opportunities. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, listening to all of you, I can only say, unless until a diamond is roughed up, it doesn't become a diamond. And my privilege to say that the Indian Army actually makes the diamonds out of raw carbon, and that's what all of you three gentlemen have really exhibited today here on the panel. Thank you very much for that. I know we have already overshot the time by 4 minutes, so pardon me, I'll be using the definition of IST, which is Indian Stretchable Time, instead of the Armed Forces, as you said, precise. So if you permit me, because there are some student questions which I think we need to take. So I will start with the students' questions now. Vivek says, cyber warfare, interesting area. Please explain little details about the sector.
May I take it, sir?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I volunteer to take this question on because I am a director in 2 of the cybersecurity outfits. I have some stakes in one of the cybersecurity company known as Cyber Range. We specialize in creating physical cyber systems and virtual cyber labs. So, and also I'm a director of Information Sharing and Analysis Center, which is a not-for-profit foundation working in the cyber security for last 10 years. So that's why I'm volunteering, sir. Don't mind my volunteering. Sorry, sir.
Please.
Okay, cyber warfare. We have in all three armed forces as well as in the DIRA, we have the common place also. Cyber security experts working there, and Army, Navy, Air Force has CERT Army, CERT Navy, CERT Air Force. CERT is, by the way, CERT is one of the two nodal agencies under the IT Act for computer emergency response. Computer emergency response team India is the nodal agency created by IT Act in 2008 amendment. And the other agency is National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center. We just remember CII, Critical Information Infrastructure. That these are the two nodal agencies. Out of that, one is CERT-in. Now, while creating CERT-in, the law said, the act said that Army, Navy, Air Force will have their own certs, and they also have equal importance and equal footing, equal standing. So we have certs in all three services, and we have electronic warfare directorates in all three services. We have cyber security directorates in all three services. There's a lot of work going on in cyberspace. If someone is keen, all that he has to do is he has to join as either in Army or Navy or Air Force, wherever he wants to work in cyberspace. There is absolutely fantastic opportunity to contribute if someone is interested. So Air Force, one has to join AEL branch. Even mechanical engineers, if they have aptitude for the cyber security, they are taken. There is no bar, especially in armed forces. That's the best thing. You have a talent, and you are given an opportunity to nurture it. You are given an opportunity to take it further. That's the advantage. It doesn't limit. So cyber security, there is a lot of need. We are far behind our neighbors as far as the cyber warfare preparedness is concerned. We are not yet up to the mark. Fortunate that this year, during the Independence Day, from the ramparts of the Red Fort, the Honorable Prime Minister has spoken about the cyber security. Last week only, the National Security Advisor has spoken in Trivandrum that yes, we are coming out with the cyber security policy 2020. So that's almost ready. We are also heading towards amendments to the IT Act. They are gearing up. So a lot of things are happening. If someone is really keen, Armed Forces has, all three services have opportunity to take these people and help them grow in those careers. Yes, it is there.
Sure. Would any one of you gentlemen would like to add anything to whatever Group Captain Naidu has spoken?
Sir, I would like to add that in the armed forces, or I'm restricting myself to the army, anybody who's aspiring to, to get into the field of cyber warfare, it does not mean that he will enter the cyber warfare space and retire from there. Like Group Captain Naidu said, it depends on your talent and what the setup wants you to do. You may be there for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, but your contribution will definitely be recognized, but you will not be in the cyber warfare space throughout your career. That's number one. Number two, the core service is the Army Signals Corps, which is responsible for the telecommunication within the Army. But I have known officers from the air defense. I have known officers from artillery and engineers, other engineers from the EME, that is the Electrical and Mechanical Engineer Corps. All of them have had stints in cyber warfare, and it's just your talent and your ability to cope with the demands of that kind of warfare.
Sure.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to add, not on just cyber security. There are questions I can see from many students on emerging technology areas.
Yes, please.
So what I wanted to say that you can join as a uniformed person in the armed forces. For if you are keen on applying newer technologies, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and stuff like that. Or you could be part of defense public sector undertakings like Bharat Electronics, like defense research and development labs, and some of the private sector, because we interact closely with the industry for doing development for indigenous systems in all emerging areas. So that is what is the answer for, there are many questions I saw.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Great. I think a lot of people have started asking what are chances. Okay, here is one which says, what are Madhuri Lima is saying, what are the chances of women engineers? How can we start applying?
So in the army, we have the electronics and mechanical engineers corps. Like we have the Military College of Electronics and Mechanical Engineers here in Secunderabad. And we have the EME school that is at Baroda. Now, candidates with this kind of qualification, they can apply to the EME, but they have to go through the selection process and the services selection board, clear the medicals and get into the merit list. And then the sky is the limit.
Right. A question for you, Group Captain Naidu. Can I have you back on screen, please?
Yes.
A student is saying, joining Indian Air Force is my dream, but I have eyesight, sir. Will that be an issue? Probably talking about, I don't know whether myopic or what.
No, it depends on problem. Glasses is not a problem other than the flying, of course, because we have engineers with glasses on. But it depends on what is the extent to which his difficulty level is there in eyesight. Otherwise, non-technical ground duty branches, all branches are open. Even you have glasses. Flying, yes, it is difficult.
Which is understandable. How about Commodore Bhargava in Navy also? Do you have similar kind of restrictions?
Yes. So those standards are similar. People with spectacles can certainly join, provided the corrected vision is within the permissible limits. And I see one question from Nagamani saying that I'm very keen on Navy, but at 15 I got spectacles. So
yes.
cheer up, do well in your exams, write the entrance, get into the merit, and spectacles will not come in your way. Okay? All the best.
Wonderful. Arun is saying BTech, I don't know how to step forward towards armed forces. Sir, give me suggestion. I'll follow from today. Final year is completed from EEE department. So as you can see, our stories have really motivated students to, sit back and take notice that how they can become, and a shadow of whatever you all have achieved, in your illustrious careers. So probably if you could help guide them.
Yeah, Arun, you and another participant, Challa Saikaran, he says, can you please talk about the technical graduate course? If I'm not wrong, this technical graduate course is meant for masters who are rather BTech or BE who have done some, and then they can apply for this. It's 20 to 27 is the age. Please check these age and age limits because they may change. And then you, the technical, you have the training in the Indian Military Academy, and how to step forward. Well, it is your motivation. You go through the website. In fact, all of you should go through the website www.indianarmy.nic.in. Or what about you must click for commission in the Indian Army, likewise Indian Navy and Indian Air Force, and then you get through you can go through the various terms and conditions, the qualifications, the age, the training schedule, and the duration. And there is no need to step forward, take the decision, prepare for it, and take a shot at it. All the best.
Great. I think one question which has been asked by people, Jyoti as well as Shruti, Shan is saying, they are degree students. How can they start applying for Indian Army is what Jyoti asks. And Shan Bhargava is saying, good evening, sir. I'm doing my BA Economics. Can I apply for Indian Navy or Indian Army? So I think degree people also want to understand.
Degree, well, I'm a degree, I'm just a graduate, BSc. I had my basic qualification, and that being the basic qualification, a degree from a recognized university for applying for Short Service Commission or the Indian Military Academy Permanent Commission, that is the non-technical stream. And it is later on in the army that I did my Master of Management Studies from Osmania University, where Commodore Bhargav was my instructor in the College of Defense Management. Then I did my MA Political Science as a brigadier. But no favoritism, nothing. I had to go through the Viva, the written exam. So what I would also like to convey is that learning never stops. Another myth is that once you join the army, you can padhai band kar do. No, you have to study a lot, because a lot is expected of you to be in touch, in step with technology, geopolitics, current affairs, and a lot many things. Like I said, aid to civil authorities. You have to know the beams around you. So it goes on. So whether you're BA Economics or BA History, if you have the desire, the determination, and the dedication, just go for it. That's all.
Yeah.
Over to you, Commodore.
Yeah, I would just like to add that I hope all the students are surfing a government site, which earlier on used to be in print, but online it is there, called Employment News. So all the government, employment announcements, including the armed forces, are periodically updated almost on a daily basis now. And the Employment News is available in some multiple languages in our country. So please browse, it gives you all the details, and then you prepare accordingly. But it should not deter you that what graduation discipline are you taking. Most of the times now it is, like the broad spectrum, and they permit, yes, till inter you should have studied science, that is certainly there. But like this economics, Shan is asking, you'll have to check. Maybe you can't qualify to join the technical branches, certainly, with this degree, but you may be able to join the logistics specialization or the education. So you have to just check that detail. Okay, thank you.
Sure, thanks. I think there are quite a number of students' questions, and if we keep on continuing, probably we'll be here for half an hour more. So in interest, I think I would like to end up over here. Only thing is, Shruti, if you could, next slide. Wing Commander, yeah, please, Major.
I would just like to, since you had asked me, one exciting moment or one memorable moment was when I was commanding this depot in Srinagar. Srinagar, all these places are very, very sensitive. They are heavily fortified. Even for me to get in, I had to have my identity card, so on and so forth. The army school was just near the gate, and my daughter was studying in class 8. And one day, suddenly we heard a bang. That was the beginning of suicide bombing in Srinagar. And one of the hands of the suicide bomber fell in the premises of the army school.
Right.
And well, it had a traumatic effect on the children. My daughter, she did not go to school for about 2 to 3 days. And adjacent to was the helipad where casualties during the Kargil war would come and taken to the base hospital. And the children would see the soldiers, in various conditions. So we told her, would you like to go to school? She says, Papa, when soldiers are, coming like this, with their hands, you can say many of them had their, many serious cases.
Yes.
And she says, I have just seen the hand in the school. That shouldn't really stop me from studying. So what I'm saying is that these are some of the, like Group Captain Naidu was mentioning, and Commodore Bhargav, it grows even on the children. They also get used to handling crisis situations in the armed forces. So I just thought I'll share with you this. Thank you.
No, interesting. Thank you. Thank you very much. Can I have the next slide, please, Shruti? Wing Commander Mola from the Airman selection and the officer selection was supposed to join us, but he was not available. So he asked me to share this information on Indian Air Force recruitment information, which is an app, an Android app, which can be downloaded from the Play Store, which is called My IA, which gives all information on all these service selection procedures, the pay and allowances, service perks, training aspects, post-retirement benefits, etc. Everything are given over there. And also, he has given these websites, and he has requested that maximum candidates to join Indian Air Force Facebook page as well as Twitter and Instagram account. So on his behalf, I'm passing on this information to all the students.
May I add something here, sir? Please. Okay, now, for the what he has given is for non-graduates mostly. It is
right.
Standard. So if graduates wants to go for it, then I have just posted the website.
The link, yes.
So that is for below graduate level.
Right.
And these are for the officer card.
Officer, fantastic.
Yeah.
Right.
So these are not the misnomer.
Right. I think, it was probably one of the most interesting panel discussions that I have had in my entire 30 plus years of career, sirs. And really, extremely privileged to, be on a panel with such a distinguished gathering. Praveen, in case you are also there, if you could also come up so that express gratitude to our gentlemen. I think another question.
There's some problem with my video.
Okay, no problems, Praveen. So that's okay. So I think it has been a fantastic panel today, and as we could see from the questions itself, some students have started thinking on those lines. So I'm very happy that at least we were able to achieve our objective, which is try to promote the armed forces in Telangana so that more and more numbers can apply from here and get selected into it. So thank you very much, gentlemen. It has been an honor and a privilege for me to orchestrate this discussion. So let me start by thanking Ms. Krishnan for being on this panel and sharing their experiences, plus the process and procedures. And as and when we'll get more questions regarding Indian Army, we'll be troubling you again and again to get some solutions for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Commodore Bhargava, it's indeed a pleasure and an honor to have you with us today to talk about Navy and the various options over there. And as you could see, a lot of people are showing interest in the Navy also. And I'm extremely happy and delighted, and thanks for enlightening our students. Krishnan, we will also be reaching out to you questions pertaining to the Indian Navy. And Group Captain Naidu, again, thank you for sharing the Air Force examples. So that's etc. And we will definitely be reaching out to questions on the Indian Air Force. And I'm sure, this is probably not the end of it. We would again be doing a larger panel discussion and different media altogether, because we want to encourage our youth of Telangana to, participate more in the defense forces. Thank you, Praveen, for sharing with us as to what all defense sector opportunities in Telangana for the youth and how they can become part of, if not the armed forces, but be the power be our armed forces in terms of defense sector, services, and manufacturing. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's indeed an honor and a privilege to have been with you on this panel. Over to you, Shruti.
Thank you very much for task also. for organizing this.
Thank you, sir. I totally agree with you. It was a very, very interesting discussion today, especially listening to the stories. I think we never get tired of listening to the stories. And there's no other way we can know it except from people who have served in the army, so in the defense forces. So thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us. I'm sure at least some of the students who are on the panel or who are in the audience today will be inspired to think of defense as seriously as a career option. We are in the process of conducting a poll. The results are okay. So the answers are here. The question was this webinar relevant to the questions you had about career in armed forces? And 100% of the students have said yes. So 100% of the people have said the discussion was very relevant. So I think that speaks a lot. That was the feedback we got, and I'm sure that a lot of myths that we usually have, a lot of prejudices, a lot of assumptions that we make about career in the armed forces have been cleared today. So as the students all know, being in the army, being in the Air Force doesn't mean you're on the border fighting with the enemy. There are so many other things, and it's a very interesting thing. And students who are interested in technology, I think the armed forces are way ahead technologically than any other industry. So students who are passionate about technology.
If you permit me, I want to take just 30 seconds, Mr. Srikanth.
Sure, sir, sure.
Please.
Because for the short service commissioned officers, I just want to say something. Enormous amount of opportunities after they leave, whether it is 10 years or 14 years. I am personally friends with many people who have left. I can count names. They have gone on to become chief executive officers, MDs, CMDs in government, public sector undertakings, as well as many of them. Mr. Srikanth, Bipin, he has been in a short service commission officer.
Yes.
He is heading a big organization. He has been heading.
Yeah.
So likewise, what I'm saying is, Shruti said, yes, cutting edge technologies. People are getting into after serving in the armed forces. This discipline, those things come very handy probably. And just look at Commodore Harsha and General Krishnan. Physical fitness also. I mean, what else do you want to be happy? Physically fit, money-wise happy, and doing good job to contribute to the nation. That's what. Thank you very much. Thank you for organizing.
So I think I would take this opportunity to salute all three of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Like I said, this is probably one career option where you're taken care of so well even after you retire. And retirement doesn't happen at 60, 65. You have the option of retiring when you still have a lot of energy left to do a lot of other things. And that is truly amazing about this. Thank you so much. A very interesting.
I'd just like to add one thing. In the army, we believe that if it is possible and if it is impossible, it will be done.
Yeah.
Right.
So thank you very much, Mr. Srikanth and Shruti and Task. Been a pleasure, and all fellow panelists. It's really a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think this is a fitting climax to our entire Career Talk series. I think we couldn't have expected a better finale to the entire career series that we did. Thank you so much. But this is not the end of it. We are going to continue. We are coming up next month. We have something very special. Srikanth sir, would you like to talk about it, please?
Sure. Next month also has got the birth anniversary of our beloved ex-president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, on 15th of October. And who actually gave, if you look at it, the Atmanirbhar Bharat and the entire thing started from his time itself, be it inclusive India or in terms of India becoming a superpower, or at least coming out of being called just a developing country, was during his time. And that's why Task and Government of Telangana has decided to celebrate this entire month as month of innovation and entrepreneurship. And Task is going to conduct entrepreneurship and innovation orientation program for our students, which will be done on every Saturday. We will get back to you with the timing. So on The 3rd and 10th, we would have it on a Saturday, but 17th being Batukama and 24th being Durgashtami, this will happen on
It's 5 o'clock.
16th and on 24th. Sorry, 23rd, we would have it. And 21st, again, we would have the thing. We would also have panel discussion on every Thursday at the same time, 3 to 5, but on topics related with social and rural entrepreneurship. And on 15th, Bharat Ratna Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam's birthday, we would have a full day conference on innovation and entrepreneurship, social innovation, social entrepreneurship, a themed conference, which we'll be having some of the best speakers across India from this ecosystem who will come and enlighten the mind of all our youth. I would humbly submit over here to all those principals, etc., who are here, especially from the districts, to please ensure that your students, and this is not limited to only the final year students, etc., but we would like to encourage even the 2nd and 3rd year students from the engineering streams, as well as 1st, 2nd, 3rd year students from degree to be part of this month itself and understand as to and get a entrepreneurial mindset as well as an innovation mindset for themselves, which will help them in the future also. So interesting month coming ahead, dear students. Be on the lookout for mails as well as the task website for it.
Sir, I'll just like to say Commodore Bhargav is a specialist in entrepreneurship. I mean, just since you mentioned this, I just would like to share that Commodore Bhargav, one of his specializations is entrepreneurship.
Fantastic. So, Shruti, please make a note. We already have one panelist for our weekly panel discussions.
We can see whichever way we can help. No problem.
No, Commodore Bhargav, will be our pleasure to have you on that panel. Yes, and I think the first time I met you was at the T-Hub. Sorry?
I said, sir, I took the liberty of taking your name.
No, absolutely. Thank you. And in fact, I met Commodore Bhargav very briefly during the T-Hub event, but at that time, we didn't get introduced to each other. So we'll be reaching out to you, Commodore Bhargav, again for it. And thank you very much. Indeed, an honor and a pleasure to have this. And as you write, icing on the cake. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, all the participants, faculty, students, Malika, for the technology. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Yes. Thanks, Malika, as usual, for hosting us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It's an extreme
Pleasure.
great honor for us. It's a pleasure to host such kind of esteemed panelists this week. Thank you so much. I'm ending the meeting.
Thank you, Malika. All the best for your venture. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.